The message popped up on my husband's lock screen, and he snatched the phone so fast I didn't even read the whole line. We were on the couch, half watching a show neither of us cared about. I had my feet tucked under me. He was scrolling, acting bored, like every other quiet Tuesday night. Then his phone lit up on the coffee table. A name I didn't recognize. A heart next to it. He didn't just pick it up. He lunged. I laughed like it was nothing. Like it was some dumb meme from a friend. But my stomach tightened anyway. What was that? I asked. Work, he said without looking at me. His thumb was already moving too fast. Delete, swipe, lock. His jaw was tight in that way I knew. The way he got when he was irritated but trying to hide it. At 8:45? I asked. He finally looked up. Some people don't get to clock out when you do. I hated that line. It made me feel small. Like I was annoying for even asking. Okay, I said, and leaned back into the couch. He put the phone in his pocket. Not on the table. Not face down like usual. Pocket. I kept my eyes on the TV, but my brain was suddenly loud. I tried to tell myself it was nothing. Maybe a coworker who used a weird nickname. Maybe a group chat where someone put emojis next to names. People do that. Still, I felt it sitting in my chest like a stone. 10 minutes later, he got up to get water. The phone came with him. When he came back, he sat down and held it in his hand instead of leaving it anywhere near me. I said, "You're being weird." "I'm not," he said. "You are," I said. "You never hold your phone like that." He shrugged. "I just don't feel like leaving it on the table." I watched him from the corner of my eye. His fingers kept tapping the screen like he was making sure something stayed gone. Then he opened his camera and pointed it at our dog asleep on the rug. He never takes photos of the dog. He took 2 pictures, laughed a little too loudly, and showed me the screen. "Look at him. He's out cold." I smiled because I didn't know what else to do. The rest of the night felt off. He touched my shoulder when he walked past, like he was trying to prove he was normal. He asked me if I wanted dessert, like he was auditioning for something. Then he brushed his teeth and went to bed early. "Coming?" he asked. "In a minute," I said. He hesitated, then nodded and walked away. The second he was in the bedroom, I went to the kitchen and stood at the sink, staring at nothing. I could hear him moving around. Opening drawers. Closing them softly. Like he was trying not to make noise. My own phone was on the counter. I picked it up and opened our shared calendar. Nothing unusual. Dentist appointment next week. My sister's birthday. His gym session. I stared at his gym session for a long time. He'd been going more lately. He said it helped his back. He bought new shirts. He started shaving every morning, even on weekends. He said it was just a habit he wanted to build. He started using a new cologne. He said he got it on sale. All little things. Nothing that screamed anything. But now, with that heart next to that name, all those little things lined up like they were waiting for me to notice. I went to the bedroom and slid under the covers. He was already turned away from me, phone on his side of the nightstand, screen down. His breathing sounded fake. Like he was pretending to sleep. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, listening to the quiet. At some point I whispered, "Are you okay?" He didn't move. Is something going on at work?" I asked. A pause. Then, "Not really." I waited for him to say more. He didn't. The next morning, I made coffee like usual. He came into the kitchen in his dress shirt, tie half done, looking polished for no reason. He kissed my cheek, quick. "Big meeting?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "Just a normal day," he said. He checked his phone. His face softened for half a second, like something pleased him. Then he noticed me looking and his expression snapped back to blank. "What?" he asked. "Nothing," I said. He finished his coffee fast. Too fast. Then he picked up his keys and his phone and said, "I'll see you later." He didn't say "I love you." The door closed. The apartment felt too still. I told myself I was spiraling. I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself a heart emoji meant nothing. Then I did the thing I never thought I would do. I opened our router app. It was on my phone because I set it up when we moved in. He never cared about it. I used it when the internet went out, or when the TV buffered. I stared at the list of connected devices. Our smart TV. My phone. His phone. And something else. A device name I didn't recognize. It was connected right now. It wasn't the TV, it wasn't the console, it wasn't the printer. It was labeled as a phone. My hands went cold. I refreshed the list. It stayed there. I sat down at the kitchen table and tried to breathe like a normal person. I tried to tell myself it was a neighbor's device accidentally connecting, but the network was locked. I knew the password. It wasn't easy. The device had been connected for weeks. The app showed history. Weeks. I stared at the screen until my eyes burned. Then my own phone buzzed with a text from my husband. Running late tonight. Don't wait up. I stared at the message, then at the unknown device, still sitting there like it belonged in our home. And for the first time, I didn't feel paranoid. I felt warned. I didn't go to work that day. I called in sick and stared at the router app like it had teeth. The unknown phone stayed on the list until 9:15. Then it dropped off. My husband had already left. His phone was still showing as connected for a few more minutes, then it disappeared too. I told myself that made sense. He left the building. The Wi-Fi range ended. Normal. But the unknown phone bothered me in a different way. It had been connected for weeks. If it was a neighbor, it would show up sometimes, not like it lived here. I walked through our apartment and tried to see it like a stranger would. Our place was clean, boring, familiar. The living room. The kitchen. The bedroom. The spare room we called the office even though it was mostly storage. I checked the obvious stuff first. The TV. The console. The printer. Nothing matched that device name. Then I opened the closet in the hallway and pulled out the box where we kept old phones and cables. I found my old phone, dead, cracked screen. His old phone was not there. I stood in the closet with dust on my hands and tried to remember the last time I saw it. I couldn't. He had told me he traded it in when he upgraded. I believed him. I never asked for proof. Why would I? I closed the closet and looked around like the walls were listening. At 11:30, the unknown phone showed up again on the router list. My heart kicked hard. Nobody should be home right now. It was just me. I checked the list again. My phone. The TV. And that unknown phone. I walked into the living room and stood still. No sound. No movement. Just the hum of the fridge in the kitchen. I refreshed the list. It stayed connected. So it was here. In my apartment. Right now. I started searching like I'd lost something important. I checked behind the couch cushions. Under the coffee table. In the drawers. In the basket where we kept remotes. I told myself I was being ridiculous, but my hands kept moving. I went into the bedroom. I opened his nightstand drawer. Socks. Chargers. A pack of gum. Nothing. I opened the bottom drawer. It was mostly junk. Receipts. A small tool kit. A spare watch band. Then, pushed all the way back, I found a power bank I didn't recognize. It was heavy. New. Not the cheap kind we usually bought. I unplugged it from the charging cable and lifted it. Under it, there was a second cable. That cable was not for a watch or headphones. It was a phone charger. My hands were shaking so badly I had to sit on the edge of the bed. I pulled everything out of the drawer. One thing at a time. Slow. Like I was trying not to wake someone. At the back, taped to the underside of the drawer, was a phone. It was wrapped in a thin plastic sleeve. The screen was dark. The edges were clean. Not old. Not cracked. It looked like it had been hiding for a long time and still getting used. I peeled the tape off and held it like it might burn me. I pressed the power button. Nothing. I plugged it into the power bank and waited. After a few seconds, the screen lit up. No lock screen photo. No notifications preview. Just the time and a plain background. It wanted a passcode. Of course it did. I tried his usual one. The one I knew because I set up half the accounts in our life. It was wrong. I tried our anniversary. Wrong. I tried his birthday. Wrong. The phone vibrated lightly in my hands with each failure. Like a warning. I set it down on the bed and looked at it. I felt stupid. I felt angry. I felt like someone had made a fool out of me in my own home. Then I remembered the night before. The heart next to the name. The way he lunged. I picked up the phone again and tried 4 digits that were not about us at all. The last 4 digits of his work extension. Something he used every day but never talked about. The screen unlocked. My mouth went dry. There were no apps on the first page except the basics. No social media. No photos. No emails. Just a messaging app with one conversation pinned at the top. A name with a heart. The same name I saw on his lock screen. I didn't open it yet. I just stared at it, like my eyes could stop time. I went to the router app again. The unknown phone was still connected. It was this one. This phone had been in our apartment, online, while my husband acted like I was crazy for noticing anything. I opened the conversation. The first thing I saw was a message from last night. I miss you. I hate going to sleep without you. Then my husband's reply. Soon. Just be patient. She was right there. My ears rang. I scrolled, fast, then slower, then fast again. Weeks of messages. Plans. Photos I did not let myself study too long. Little jokes. Complaints about me, written like I was a problem to manage. One message stopped me cold. Your wife asked about the heart. She's getting sharp. The reply came right after. I handled it. She trusts me. I stared at that line until my vision blurred. Then I saw another detail that made my stomach drop even lower. The other person kept mentioning our apartment. Not in a general way. In a too specific way. The blue mug you hate is still in the sink. Your dog was snoring so loud I almost laughed. I didn't breathe for a full minute. Because that meant she had been here. In my home. I scrolled up and found a message from 2 days ago. I can come by again tomorrow. Same time. I still have the key. My hands went numb. Key. What key? We had 2 keys. Mine and his. There was no third key. Unless he made one. I put the burner phone back in the drawer exactly how I found it. I taped it back. I slid everything back in place. I hated myself for doing it, but I needed him to think I knew nothing. Then I sat at the kitchen table and waited for him to text. At 3:20, my phone buzzed. On my way home now. At 4:10, another text. Running late. Work thing. Don't wait up. I stared at the screen and felt something in me turn quiet and steady. At 4:30, the unknown phone appeared on the router list again. He was not home. I was. So someone else was here. I stood up so fast my chair scraped the floor. I walked to the front door and put my hand on the lock. It was locked. Chain off. Normal. Then I heard it. A soft metal click. The sound of a key sliding into my lock from the outside. I stepped back into the hallway, barefoot, holding my own phone like it was a weapon. The door opened. And my best friend walked in like she belonged here, holding a bottle of wine in one hand and her phone in the other. For half a second, my brain refused to name what I was seeing. My best friend stood in my doorway like it was any other day. She wore a neat coat, hair done, lips tinted. The wine bottle was tucked against her side like a casual gift. She froze when she saw me. Her smile tried to show up anyway. It failed. Oh, she said. You're home. I didn't move. My feet felt glued to the floor. You have a key, I said. She blinked fast. What are you talking about? I pointed at the lock. You just used it. She shifted her grip on the bottle. Her other hand slid behind her back, hiding the keys like a kid caught stealing. It's not what you think, she said quickly. I let out a sound that was almost a laugh, but it had no humor in it. Then tell me what it is. She took a step inside like she belonged there. Like she always had. I stepped forward and blocked her path. Stop, I said. Her eyes flicked over my face, searching for a way out. I came to drop this off. That's it. Drop what off, I said. Wine. For who? For you, she said, too fast. For tonight. I stared at her hands. The bottle. The phone. The way she kept her shoulders tense, ready to bolt. Why do you have a key? I repeated. Her cheeks flushed. Your husband gave it to me. The word husband hit me like a slap. She said it like it was normal. Like it was an everyday detail. Why? I asked. She swallowed. Because he asked me to help. Help with what? She looked down at the floor, then back up. He wanted to surprise you. I didn't answer. I just watched her. She tried again. He said you've been stressed. That you two haven't had time. He wanted me to set something up. Just little things. Like candles and snacks and a bottle of wine. I was going to put it in the kitchen and leave. I felt my throat tighten. And the dog, I said, flat. Her eyes widened. Just a fraction. Then she recovered. What about the dog? You know he snores, I said. You know where his bed is. You know what mug I hate. You know it all. Her mouth opened, then closed. I stepped closer. How long? I asked. She shook her head, quick. No. Stop. How long have you been coming into my apartment? I said. Her voice turned sharp. I told you. It was for you. I stared at her until her sharpness melted into panic. She whispered, please don't do this. Do what? I said. Ask you a question. She looked toward the hallway like she was measuring the distance to the door. Then she looked at her phone in her hand, like she wanted to text someone without me seeing. I held my own phone up. Put yours on the table, I said. Her eyes snapped to mine. Why? Because you're in my home with my key, I said. Do it. She didn't move. I walked to the kitchen table and set my phone down, screen up, camera open. Then I walked back and held my hand out. Now, I said. Her breathing got loud. You're scaring me. I nodded. Good. She flinched at that word. Then she slowly walked into the kitchen and placed her phone on the table, face down. I flipped it over. The screen lit up. A lock screen with a selfie of her in a bathroom mirror. And a message banner across the top. 2 words were visible before it faded. Here now? My chest went tight. I didn't even need to see the name. I looked at her. He thinks you're alone, I said. Her lips parted. I didn't text that. It just popped up, I said. So someone did. She shook her head, but her eyes were wet now. Please. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just walked past her and locked the door. Then I slid the chain into place. The click was loud in the quiet. Her eyes followed my hand like I had pulled a weapon. What are you doing? She asked. Making sure you don't leave before I understand, I said. She backed up until she hit the counter. The wine bottle bumped against the edge and made a dull sound. Open the door, she said. Tell me the truth, I said. She squeezed her eyes shut for a second, then opened them and looked at me like she was trying to look brave. It started as helping, she said. He really did ask me to set things up. He said he wanted to fix things with you. And then, I said. She swallowed hard. And then you two fought. I was there. I heard it. I went still. You were here when we fought. Her voice dropped. I was in the bathroom. I didn't want you to know. He told me you'd get upset. My skin felt too hot. So you were here, I said. While I was in my own kitchen. While I was crying in my own bedroom. You were here and I didn't know. She stared at the floor. I'm sorry. I took a slow breath. How many times? She didn't answer. How many times have you been in my bed? I asked, and my voice didn't even sound like mine. Her head snapped up. No. I held her gaze. Don't lie. She started shaking. We didn't. Not in your bed. That should have been a relief. It wasn't. Where? I asked. Her eyes slid away. Please. I can't. I stepped closer. Say it. She pressed her back against the counter, trapped. At his place first, she whispered. He doesn't have a place, I said. She froze. I watched the words land in her head. I watched her realize what she had just admitted. My voice went quiet. He told you he has another place. Tears rolled down her face. She wiped them fast, angry at them. He said you were separated, she said. He said you were basically done. He said you wanted him gone. I stared at her, and something shifted in my chest. Not softer. Just clearer. He said I wanted him gone, I repeated. She nodded, crying harder now. He said he was staying with a friend sometimes. He said it was temporary. I looked at the wine bottle again. The way she held it like a peace offering. Then the sound came again. Metal in the lock. A key turning from the outside. My best friend's head snapped toward the door, and she whispered, he wasn't supposed to be this early. I stood with my back to the kitchen, facing the door like it might explode. The chain was still on. The lock turned again, harder this time. Then his voice came through the crack. Why is the chain on? I didn't answer. He tried the key again like that would change anything. Then he knocked, loud and annoyed. Open it, he said. My best friend wiped her face with her sleeve. Her mascara had started to smear. She looked scared, but not surprised. I said, say my name. What? He snapped. Say my name, I repeated. Say it like you mean it. Silence. Then, open the door. Right now. I leaned closer but kept the chain on. I opened the door just enough to see his face. He was in his work clothes. Tie loosened. Hair still neat. He looked irritated, not worried. Like I was ruining his schedule. Then his eyes shifted past me. He saw her. For a second his face went blank. Then his jaw tightened. He looked at me again and forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. What is she doing here? He asked. I said, you tell me. He stared at my best friend like he wanted to burn a hole through her. She stared back, trembling, holding the wine bottle like it was the only thing keeping her steady. He said her role, not her name. Why are you in my apartment? She opened her mouth. No sound came out. I said, she used her key. His eyes flicked to the lock. What key? The key you gave her, I said. The one that opens my front door. He looked back at me and laughed once, sharp. Are you serious right now? I didn't blink. I found the phone. His smile dropped. He stared at me for a long beat, like he was checking if I was bluffing. Then his eyes shifted to my best friend again. You told her, he said, low. My best friend whispered, I didn't mean to. He snapped his gaze back to me. What phone? I said, the one you taped under your drawer. The one with the heart next to her name. His throat moved like he swallowed something dry. Then he did something that made my skin crawl. He softened his voice and tried to look tired and calm. Baby, he said, you went through my stuff. I didn't answer. He nodded slowly, like he had just solved a problem. Okay. So this is what it is. You're spiraling. You're making things up. I said, you called me she. In your messages. You said I was right there. His face twitched. It was small, but I saw it. He tried again. You don't understand what you read. I understand a key, I said. I understand her standing in my hallway. I understand your second phone being on my Wi-Fi while you were at work. At the word Wi-Fi, he froze in a different way. His eyes narrowed, like I had said something I wasn't supposed to know. He shifted his hand to his own pocket. I saw the shape of his phone there. My best friend took one step away from the door, like she wanted distance from him. He said, move the chain. No, I said. His voice dropped. Move it. I didn't. He leaned in closer to the crack. His cologne hit me. The new one. The one he said he got on sale. He said, open the door. We are going to talk like adults. I said, we are talking right now. His eyes flicked down, then up, like he was measuring the chain. Then he stepped back and pulled his phone out. He didn't call me. He didn't call anyone I could hear. He just stared at the screen, thumb moving fast. Then my phone, on the kitchen table, lit up with a text. Open the door. Now. My stomach dropped. He was watching my phone light up through the crack and watching my face at the same time. I turned my head and looked at my best friend. Did you ever see him put cameras in here? I asked. Her eyes widened. She shook her head quickly. My husband gave a slow, annoyed sigh, like I was being dramatic. What cameras? I said, looking back at him. He didn't answer me. He lifted his phone slightly and tilted it, like he was deciding whether to show me something. Then he said, you really want to do this? I said, show me. His eyes went cold. He tapped twice, then held the screen up to the crack. I saw my kitchen. From above. A wide view. The table. The counter. The front door. Even the hallway leading to the bedroom. My blood went ice cold. He had been filming my home. I stared at the tiny image of my kitchen on his screen. I could see the exact spot where I stood earlier. I could see my own chair. He said, you checked the router. Cute. My voice came out thin. How long? He shrugged. A while. My best friend made a small sound, like a broken breath. I said, you watched me. He smiled like it was nothing. It's my apartment too. I said, you watched me find your phone. His smile faded again. He tapped the screen. The camera view shifted. Now it showed the bedroom doorway. The angle was wrong. Like it was hidden high, maybe on a shelf. He said, I saw you in the drawer. My hand started shaking. So you came home. I came to handle it, he said. I said, handle what? He didn't answer. He slid his phone back down and reached into his jacket pocket. He pulled out a small black pouch. He held it up. A pouch I had never seen. He said, open the chain. I didn't move. He stared at me for a second, then looked at my best friend. Get out, he said to her. She flinched. I can't. She locked it. He snapped, then stand there and shut up. She hugged the wine bottle to her chest like it was armor. I said, don't talk to her like that. He looked at me like I was nothing. Then he said the twist that made my throat close. You think you're the only one who can keep secrets in this house. He unzipped the pouch and pulled out my spare key ring. The one I kept in my desk drawer for emergencies. He held it up, smiling like he had one. I made a copy months ago, he said. I didn't need her key. She was just convenient. Then he turned his phone screen toward me again. On it was the live camera view. And in that view, I could see myself standing at the door, holding the chain, frozen in place. Seeing myself on his screen did something to me. It made it real in a way the texts and the hidden phone didn't. It wasn't just cheating. It was control. He had been inside my days without me knowing. He had been watching me move around my own home like I was a stranger. I took a slow step back from the door. My husband's eyes tracked me through the crack. He leaned closer, voice low. Take the chain off, he said. I didn't answer. He lifted the key ring again, the one from my desk, and gave it a small shake like he was showing me a prize. You leave those drawers unlocked, he said. You make this easy. My best friend whispered, I didn't know about this. He snapped. I said shut up. She flinched hard and looked at me with wet eyes. Her mouth moved like she wanted to say sorry again, but it didn't matter. Not now. Not like this. I backed into the kitchen and picked up my phone. My hands were shaking so much I almost dropped it. He called through the door, "Who are you texting?" I didn't reply. I opened the camera app and hit record, pointing it at the door crack. His voice. His face. The chain. Everything. He paused. Then he laughed once, the same sharp laugh from before. "You think you're smart," he said. I walked to the counter and grabbed the metal fruit bowl. It was heavy. My mother gave it to us when we moved in. I held it in my left hand like I was testing its weight. My best friend stared at it. "What are you doing?" she whispered. "Staying safe," I said. Another key turn. He tried to force the lock, like the chain would give. It didn't. He said, "Open the door. Right now." "I'm not doing this through a crack," I said, loud enough for him to hear. "I'm recording." Silence. Then his tone changed. Smooth. Soft. Like he was talking to a child who needed to be calmed down. "Okay," he said. "Fine. Let's calm down. Let's be rational. You're upset. I get it. You found something you weren't supposed to find. You're overwhelmed." I stared at the door and felt my stomach twist at how easy the words were for him. He continued, "You don't want to ruin your whole life over one misunderstanding." I said, "You filmed me." He sighed. "I set up cameras for security. You know that." "No," I said. "I don't." He paused. "You forgot. We talked about it." I laughed, and it sounded ugly. "We didn't talk about it." He said, "You see. This is what I mean. You get emotional and then you rewrite history." My best friend let out a small, broken sound. "Stop," she said, barely audible. He ignored her. He said to me, "Open the door. We'll talk. We'll fix it. Like we always do." That line made my skin crawl. Like we always do. Like this was normal. Like I was supposed to fold. I kept recording and walked toward the hallway. Not away from him, just out of his sight line. The camera stayed pointed toward the door, catching his voice. I went into the office room and opened my desk drawer. The spare key ring was gone, like he said. I reached behind the folders where I kept boring paperwork and pulled out the small envelope I forgot existed. It held the lease paperwork. My name was on it. His name was on it too. But my name was the one that signed first. My name was the one on the utility account. My name was the one on the router. My name was the one on the building access file. I walked back into the kitchen and looked at my best friend. "Give me the key," I said. She hesitated for a half second. Then she pulled the key out of her pocket and placed it on the table like it weighed 100 pounds. I said, "Tell me the truth. Right now. Everything you know." She started crying again. "He told me you were done," she said. "He told me you hated him. He told me he was staying here just until he found another place. He told me you were sleeping in the other room sometimes." I stared at her. "And you believed him?" She nodded. "I know. I know. I'm disgusting. I'm sorry. I'm sorry." Her words were messy and fast. But then she said something that made me stop breathing. "He also told me you were trying to trap him," she sobbed. "He said you wanted a baby so he couldn't leave." I felt my mouth go dry. Because that wasn't a lie he made up. That was something I said to him 2 months ago. Something I said in a low voice after another fight. Something I never told anyone else. I whispered, "I never said that around you." My best friend looked confused through her tears. "What?" I looked at the door. My husband's voice came again, louder now. "Are you done playing detective?" I stared at my phone screen, still recording, and it hit me in a clean, sharp way. He didn't need her to tell him my private words. He had microphones too. That was the twist. Not just cameras. Not just watching. Listening. I walked to the living room and looked up at the shelf above the TV. There was a little black object I always thought was part of the soundbar setup. I never touched it. He handled all the electronics. I stood on the edge of the rug and reached up. It came off too easily. It was a small camera. The kind with a tiny lens that looked like a dot. A little light blinked when my finger brushed it. My hand started shaking harder. I carried it to the kitchen and set it on the table. My best friend covered her mouth. My husband's voice changed when he saw it through the crack. I could hear the edge in it now. "Put that back." I didn't. I walked to the bedroom and looked around with new eyes. A smoke detector in the corner that wasn't there when we moved in. A charger block behind the nightstand that didn't match anything we owned. A small black disc stuck under a shelf. I ripped them out. one by one. I brought them to the kitchen and lined them up on the table like evidence. My best friend kept whispering, "Oh my God," over and over. My husband stopped pretending. He shouted, "You don't get to touch my stuff." I stood in the kitchen, filming the table full of hidden cameras and listening devices, and said, loud and clear, "I'm calling the building manager. And the police. And I'm sending this video to my lawyer." He went quiet for a beat. Then he laughed again, but it sounded wrong this time. It sounded thin. "You think they'll care," he said. "You think anyone's going to believe you over me?" I stared at the door, and for the first time, I didn't feel scared of his voice. I said, "I have your burner phone. I have your camera feed. I have your messages. I have you on video right now." Silence again. Then a different sound. A fast, angry rattle at the chain. Like he was pulling it with both hands. My best friend backed away from the door. "He's going to break it," she whispered. I didn't answer. I grabbed the fruit bowl tighter. The chain held. Then the rattling stopped. I heard footsteps. Moving away from the door. Quick. My stomach clenched. "He's going to the other door," I said. We had a second way out. The balcony fire escape. It connected to the hallway outside if you climbed down and went around. He knew that. I ran to the balcony and slid the door open. Cold air slapped my face. I stepped out and looked down. Nothing yet. Then I heard metal clanging from below. A foot hitting the rail. Someone climbing up. My husband's head appeared over the balcony edge. His face was red. His eyes were locked on me. He smiled like he was proud of himself. "Move," he said, climbing higher. I stepped back into the living room and slammed the balcony door, locking it with shaking hands. The glass rattled as he hit it from outside. He banged on it once, twice, hard. "Open it," he shouted. My best friend was crying openly now. She had both hands on her head. I didn't open it. I ran to the front door and pressed my back against it. I slid down until I was sitting on the floor, phone still recording, pointed at the chain. Then I heard his footsteps on the balcony again. He was moving. Going back down. Fast. I knew what he was doing. He was going to get inside another way. He was going to come through the hallway and try the front door again. So I did the only thing left. I unlocked the door. My best friend gasped. "What are you doing?" I stood up and opened it just enough to slip out, then slammed it shut behind me and yanked the door closed with the chain still on from the inside. She was trapped inside, safe behind the chain, and I was outside in the hallway with my phone in my hand. The hallway was empty. Quiet. The building smelled like someone's dinner. I ran to the stairwell and took the stairs down 2 at a time. My lungs burned. My hand shook so badly I almost dropped my phone. On the first floor, I burst into the lobby. The front desk clerk looked up, startled. I didn't stop. I rushed behind the desk toward the security monitor wall. The clerk stood. "Ma'am, you can't go back there." I held up my phone, video still rolling, and shoved it toward him so he could see the table full of cameras and devices. I said, "My husband installed hidden cameras in my apartment. He is trying to get back inside right now. Call the police." The clerk's face drained of color. At that exact moment, the lobby door swung open. My husband walked in like he owned the place. He saw me behind the desk. He saw the clerk holding the phone, watching the video. He stopped. His eyes flicked to the security monitors. Then he looked back at me. His mouth opened like he was going to talk his way out of it. But he didn't get the chance. The clerk picked up the desk phone with shaking hands and started dialing. And my husband, still wearing his work tie and that new cologne, turned on his heel and ran back out into the cold night, the lobby lights shining on his empty hands.